everyone, and welcome back. Today, we have a very special guest in our channel. I initially found her on Instagram and immediately fell in love with her positive attitude, great content, and amazing work ethic. She has over 500 trips since switching careers after the pandemic. She is a successful Turo host and has leveraged that to start other profitable businesses. Please help me welcome Sparkles. Thank you so much again for joining us, taking the time out of your day for this. And can we go ahead and start with a quick introduction as well as what market you're in?
Yes, thanks so much for having me. I'm a teacher turned entrepreneur through Turo, and I am in the Atlanta market.
And how did you get started with Turo?
Yeah, so I was just doing some research on YouTube, Google about passive income ideas. Initially found Hire Car, but then I bumped into Turo. And when I weighed the two, I decided to go with Turo first.
Since finding out about Turo and now that you've kind of, been in it for a minute, how has your business progressed?
I have to say it's been an amazing journey. It really has. I started with one car and I have at least 7 cars and I'm managing other cars as well.
So one of the reasons that I guess gravitated towards your profile is one, you're a female doing Turo, and then the second one is that we coincidentally have two of the same vehicles, the smart car and the Mini Cooper. So how do those perform in your market?
Well, I got to tell you, they have done amazing. I was really skeptical about starting with compact cars and especially the Mini Cooper, but it's been one of the best cars in my fleet. It's the most popular. And since gas prices, the smart car has taken the lead as being one of the most popular cars as well. So I got to say that both of them are doing exceptionally well.
Yeah, for sure. Um, any notable Turo stories? I saw that you had someone famous.
Man, yeah. So you never know who's renting your cars because, like, all you do is get the profile pictures, and sometimes it's an assistant, sometimes it's a manager for that person. So, yeah, I was surprised to see the guy who plays Pinky on Friday. And I was just like trying to get pictures and stuff, but of course he had his agenda, and so I had to be quick. But yeah, someone told me when I first began Toro that the connections that you make in this business is more important than the money that you'll make. So that's definitely been true because, again, the connections through networking, the people that you run into and meet. I've met so many people, Airbnb hosts, doctors, dentists. The people that you meet in this business are going to be more valuable. I was excited, but I had to keep it professional at the same
Yeah, like
time.
okay, I know I need to like not overdo it.
Right. He did have somewhere to go and he was in a rush.
What about on the opposite side of that? Have you had any horror stories?
So I had a guest that actually only rented for 2 days, and he was at the mileage limit, but he actually drove to Florida in my car, and he only had it for 2 days with 400-mile limit. It's so many different things that could have gone wrong, in addition to the fact that he blew 2 tires. So I was like, oh God. But thankfully, he was able to resolve the tire situation and brought my car back safe and sound. Because I've heard some horror stories about not so happy endings. So I really was just thankful that it made it back to the state, and I was able to take it from there.
I definitely think that if you do your homework, you educate yourself on the terms of service and how to handle different situations, then when it does happen, because it will happen, you are well aware on how to react.
Right. And then just maintaining a high level of customer service as well, because what I've noticed with some of the groups, a lot of times when things happen, people are so quick to panic. And you just have to really maintain a level head and just know that it's just one of those things that you're just going to have to troubleshoot, because that's what you find yourself doing, especially with multiple cars. You're just troubleshooting. Try to stay as informed as you possibly can. I know one of my mistakes as a newbie, when a guest called me and they had a flat tire. The Mini Cooper Turbo doesn't have a spare, doesn't come with a spare. So yeah, I was just like, what do I do? I gotta replace this. Like, even though the guest had hit a pothole, they're going pretty fast, and that's how the tire blew. Right away, I felt like it was my responsibility. But ultimately learning, the terms of service, like you said, hey, if that car is in your possession and the tire blows and that tire was in great condition, because we all do our inspections prior to cars going out with guests, then guests are ultimately responsible. Just if you were in your own car, you blew a tire, you either put a spare on or you get a replacement tire, but it's their responsibility to troubleshoot to the best of their ability, but also let the host know, what's going on, and keep them informed. And if they need support like tow, etc., then they need to contact Turo. So just making sure that the guests are doing the heavy lifting when it's their responsibility. But as the host, I just immediately felt responsible because it was my car. And yeah, becoming a more seasoned host, I'm able to troubleshoot that situation much differently now.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? Like understanding, what are the host responsibilities and what are the guest responsibilities. You can quickly panic if you're a new host and you don't understand, and then you automatically may assume that that responsibility falls on you. But once you know the information and this is how these type of situations are handled, it's just a matter of how you deliver that to the guest where they find that it's their responsibility. We don't really ever get any pushback on that, and again, I also think it has to do with the delivery of that message.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely important. Oh, I was just gonna say, what's a horror story I forgot to ask for you guys?
uh Probably the worst was when our car was stolen and it was over the winter storm. Like we had this we had this winter storm. We couldn't leave the house because like the roads were so bad. And it was the first time that it happened. Like we had the late returns, you're just the normal stuff where they're 30 minutes an hour too late, but had never experienced where they just like completely stopped answering, and we were just trying to figure out, like what do we do? So that's where we like get our, the terms of service out. Like we're researching through all the articles and like making sure that we're doing everything that we need to do, such as reporting it within that 24-hour time frame. But then we also understood a lot about the process. It was like, we understood the timeline and what Turo support groups get involved, when trust and safety gets involved. We learned about the self recovery and the fees associated with that. So overall, like I'm very grateful that that happened because it opened up just more of what we know, and then they were able to share, because I feel like sometimes we don't know things and we try to like search. I mean, probably like anyone else, we try to search to see if there's someone out there that has had a similar situation. But I always feel a lot more confident like once I see something and then I kind of go search it on my own to just reassure myself that is true, or that that's still in effect. But that's just kind of what we did, and so that's why we like putting our stories and our experience, just so that someone else thinking of getting themselves into Turo, or that maybe has been doing Turo, can see, okay, these type of situations do happen, but there's no need to panic. Like as long as I've done my part as the host, I'm covered.
Right. And that had to be a scary situation. I think I remember when you guys posted on Instagram and YouTube, and I remember following the post like, oh my God, keep us posted with what happens. But I'm so glad you guys were able to recover. And that's the most important part. And as people can see, that didn't defer you guys from doing, what you still do. And again, it is Turo after that, right? So stuff happens and you handle it and you keep moving. So I'm really glad you guys, and thanks for sharing, because thank God I haven't had that happen. But based on your experience and the information that you provided to us, it definitely gives me some insight on, some things that I need to cross off my list if I run into a situation like that. So we appreciate you guys for sharing, because that's important.
Yeah, for sure. We're just kind of all learning and sharing. It's just a small community of Turo hosts, whether we're local or not. So it's always nice to see other people share their experience and nice to share. And when we get that positive feedback, like, oh, I follow you and had a similar situation, and this is how the turnout. But it's all thanks to some of the content that we've put out there, and it's always nice to hear that. Tell us a little bit about your goals with Turo and like where do you see yourself going or your fleet? Like, what do you think your future is like in this platform?
Initially it was just passive income for me, something extra on the side. But with adding additional cars, just continuing to build, it's become a business for me. And yeah, I actually didn't return to teaching. So, yep, this is a full-time business for me. It transitioned into a full-time business for me. And now I'm using the income, the profits to fund other entrepreneurship ventures. I mentioned before in one of our conversations about getting into vending machine business. So I'm actually using Turo. I think I'll continue to use Turo and build the business and see kind of how far it takes me, and still continue to use it into other business avenues.
Yeah, that's great. I think we share a little bit about this on a previous conversation, but yeah, likewise, using Turo as an initial, side business and hoping to get into other things as we grow, just reinvesting kind of like you had told me you were doing and plan on doing.
Right, right. Yeah.
And the vending machine business, like I'm always interested in seeing if you post more content, all that. So definitely know that you have someone out here just waiting for you to post more content.
Yeah, so I'm just getting started, and hopefully I'll have more content as my journey again with Toro. I began my Instagram just as an opening to my journey, starting car sharing and entering that field. And so I'm doing the same thing with the vending machine business, because I use my profits from Toro to fund my vending machine. So, yep, I do plan to bring more content and just share my journey. And I hope that it can motivate or help someone else who's possibly thinking about, getting into either or. I get so many people when I'm checking in, like, you're a female and you're doing this? Like, yeah, I'm doing this. And so when I came across your page, I saw, that you were leading, in the market that you're in, and you're a female. And I was just like, okay, I'm definitely going to follow and support, because it's not common to see females, hosting, cars. So people are kind of surprised and intrigued. And I get a lot of females who are traveling by themselves that are interested in starting in their market when they return from after renting my car. And so it's motivating for them, to meet me and say, hey, how did you get started? And we kind of have a quick conversation, and they're like, I'm gonna try this. And I'm like, yeah, I suggest you go for it, So, do you get the same?
I do get a lot of female renters, and sometimes I think that that's because I'm a female and they probably just feel like safer renting from a female rather than meeting, with like some random, especially for a lot of people that they're using Turo for the very first time ever.
True, true. Yeah, I've run across that as well. They feel more comfortable, and it just makes it a more pleasant experience, like you said, especially if they're first time on the platform.
It's been one of those where like people do come back and rent from me. Like these girls do come back and rent from me. And I just feel like it's that comfort level that that we and we can have conversations. I mean, like I said, we're not hanging out on the weekends, we're not texting or calling each other after the fact. But they'll message and it's like, hey girl, like
I've had return rentals do, like you said, you've had repeat guests because they feel so comfortable and they love your customer service. And then I have had people who call to, like you said, ask a question, and then we end up talking, for more time afterwards. Because you're just building that positive rapport, and you're just becoming more comfortable with them before they even get your keys, right? And then I have had people to stay in touch. Like I've made connections with people. I'm renting their Airbnbs when I travel. So again, at discounted price or whatever the case may be, just because they rented my car from me when they were traveling, and they just appreciated the great customer service and the experience. So yeah, I've had all of the above. And I got to tell you, it's been a great experience. I've had people to say all the time, when I'm renting from Sparkle, I really feel like I'm renting from a friend or a family member, as opposed to, like a complete stranger. And that's why I keep renting from her. And I love that, because I'm just like, hey, it just makes the experience that much better.
yeah, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm making a difference. You're distinguishing yourself from other hosts. And I do want to touch base on one thing that you touched on one of our prior conversations, which was I think you hosted, like you put together a meetup between you and other Turo hosts in your area. And from the little bit that that we exchanged, like you got a lot out of that experience. Can you like tell me a little bit about that and maybe, incentivize other people in your area or even my area to join those types of meetings?
Yeah, so I did join the Toro groups, and some of them were Atlanta based, some of them were not. And I noticed some of the groups in other markets were meeting up. And so I kind of, put it out there in the group, like, who wants to meet up in Atlanta? And it just kind of went from there. And I was surprised. It was a really good turnout, made a lot of good connections. It was a good space for us to network, share. We're still in touch. And we actually have another meeting. It's called a networking social, coming up for this year. It's kind of like an anniversary meet.
And that's how you also got into co-hosting, right?
Yeah, so one of the girls, or one of the ladies from the meet, like I said, we've been keeping in contact, and I guess she's been really kind of following the way I host my cars, because she has been in need of someone that she can trust to host her cars when she may want to just go on vacation, or if she's unavailable and still would like to host. So she contacted me, and so we built a relationship to where I'm co-hosting her cars while she's on vacation.
All right, I have one last question, and it's any words of advice that you can share for anyone that's looking to start Turo.
The best advice I can give is to just get started. Like, people have so many reasons why they haven't gotten started. Just get started. That's the best thing you can do. And, it just goes, it starts from there, and you just continue to build. I always tell people, if you are looking to get started and you have a personal car to start with, I suggest that. That's a good idea. But even if you don't, there's other ways to get started. There's just always the way to get started. It's just about finding the best way that works for them. But just get started. Just get started.
And just go for it. And then you're either going to see that, yes, this is for me or it's not, and which is okay. But at least you gave yourself an opportunity to give it a shot. And if it ends up being that it's not for you, then you can rule that out.
Yep. Yeah, completely agree.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for taking the time. We're trying to do a little bit more of these interviews with other Turo hosts so that viewers get not just our perspective, but the perspective of others who are also in the same business and in other markets because, it's just helpful to see how Turo works, not just in your area, but outside of it, or if you're looking at maybe co-hosting or partnering up with people that are not even necessarily in your state, you can see just kind of some of, business practices that we're all using.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate you guys for doing this and providing this insight. And you guys are definitely doing an awesome job. And I'm tuned in every time you guys post. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Likewise. Well, all right. Take care of yourself. Thank you again for joining, and we'll keep up with each other on Instagram.
Same. Okay. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.